The question initially of the Gemara was the whole concept of sequence. Okay, a structural question, if I can put it that way. Now the Gemara wants to deal with context, content, and particularly how does each of them prove why they claim what's the order of severity, why this is more severe than this, why this is more severe than this, and so forth. Okay, so that's where the whole Gemara is headed over today, right? And in doing so, they will frequently use okay, in that process. If I say this is severe and it's more severe than this, then certainly, okay, A is more severe than B. Then when I get to C, A is certainly more severe than C, okay, and so on. All right, Michael, any additional comments you want to share?
Mara will have its way to say that the lists are not dispositive. Because we showed a dozen places that well, they did put it and show why.
Okay, all right.
Rabbi Green, if you're going up in severity, and that
no, the severity is up top, and then
the severity is on top of going down.
Then going down. Okay. So, no, a severity is which death penalty is more painful, more not I wouldn't say more painful. I'm sorry. Which well, okay, yeah, but that may be. But the case, remember, we had at least twice Rabbi Nathan who said choose a mitayafa. Okay, so keeping that principle in mind, where the Gemara told us already, Kuli Alma, everybody agrees that is a working concept. Okay, how do you say that this one is more severe than this one is more severe than that one? Okay, in terms of, okay, now it may be based on the crime as well. Okay, all right, let's go on. Punish. Okay, so that's what we're going to see. Okay, we finished around the, all right, so just right at the bottom of Mem Tet Amud Bet, we finished up that certain rights. Skila Chamura Misrefa. Why? Shekain Nitna Lemigadefa Le'oved Avodat Galili. Okay, because that was what was given to somebody who was, continued the Mishnah, continued the Gemara, Poshet Yado Ba'ikar. Okay, so in other words, since that was considered the greatest offense, that's a good term, thank you. Okay, and if that's the case, so the Gemara challenges Adrab, maybe just the Shref Chamura, maybe Shref. Remember, that was Rabbi Shimon's approach. Okay, maybe that. And we're going to see this is continuously going to be the same format. I suggest this, maybe I challenge it with this. Okay, then I give you the answer why I figured that this is so. Okay, and with that, exactly, we go through the same thing. After we prove the Rabbanan view, then we got to deal with Rabbi Shimon's view. Okay, Adraba, Sreifa, Chamura. Why is burning stronger? Shekenitna lebat kohen shazinta, because that's given to the daughter of a kohen. Okay, that sexually misbehaved. Umay chumra. What is then the severity here? What is the level of okay? Shekain mechalelet et aviha. Keep this phrase in mind. Okay, why do they consider a bat kohen? And we're going to ultimately have to look in the difference between a nisua and an arusa. Okay, exactly. But notice they consider that two separate activities. One, that she does something against Hashem. One, that she does something totally embarrassing her father. Right? That's what I meant. Against her father. Well, it's against Hashem too. Okay. But the point is, right, that's considered, the fact that she is Mechalel Aviha is one crime, okay, which she would be punished, so to speak, perhaps with one of the, maybe lesser uh, 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 penalties. Okay. On the other hand, the fact that she does it against her husband, and I use husband in quotes right now between its nisua, fully married, or aru, totally betrothed, because in a sense the law is the same in those cases. All right. So that's a law that is against him, but is against the Torah law as well.
It's adultery no matter what.
There is a
Yeah, go ahead.
one might wonder why is the man out so that of course say that there are real life consequences in terms of his status being there, whereas nothing anyone can do or say diminishes that. So that's where the machshava behind saying this.
Okay, that's
Creates problems in the family.
okay. Right. So in other words, but in any case, what's important for us to keep in mind here is that, okay, that using that example is not simply one offense, but it's two offenses. And the two offenses maybe have different penalties, but we always know the Gemara tells us in that situation, the person gets judged by the more severe penalty.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Nun now. Kasavre Rabban Nisua Yotz Alis Reifa. Why? Because the rabbi is of the opinion that a daughter of a Kohen who is totally married and not but simply betrothed is excluded. Why? For they get a punishment of Sreifa, of burning. Velo Arusa, and not a betrothed daughter of a Kohen. Look at number 2. Note number 2 if you're using Art Scroll, by the way. Okay? Umida afka rachmana la'arusa b'skila. And since the Torah already excluded a betrothed Kohen's daughter, okay, with the and demand a punishment of skila, shmamina skila de chamura. From this we learn that skila is the more severe punishment. Okay, that's our so that's our basic hypothesis in which we're going to say the Gemara now is going to start and continue. All right. So what happens? Skila chamura misayif. Now we're going to say that stoning is more severe than beheading. Shekain nitna lemigadef ulo aved avodat kochavim, because it is given as the penalty for the blasphemer and the idol worshiper. Umay chumra, and what is its Art Scroll used this gravity that Art Scroll like to use. I'm not told. No, gravity. Look at the text. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Kida Amrin, and as we've said. So now the Gemara raises the challenge. Adraba, perhaps it's the opposite. Sayif v'chamor, that maybe beheading is more stringent. Shekeni tan la'avnei ir hanidachat. Why? Because there, okay, it is given to the entire, to those who participated from the city in idol worship or other forms of worship, right? And remember what happens to that city. Not only are the people killed, but their property is totally destroyed. So you have, again, two separate situations. Okay? So are we saying that's the case? Would that make it? Umay chumra, and what's its severity? Shekain mamonam avad, that their property is destroyed. Okay? So now we're going to get to an interesting question, which I'm not going to go into detail, but we should be aware of the fact that the question gets asked repeatedly in a situation of ir nidachat. Who do we say is the individual that committed the more severe crime? Is it the people who worshipped, or is it the one who, I'm going to use the word seduced, or convinced them to do the worshiping? Which is the more severe crime? So there we go on now. Okay. So the Gemara then says, Amarta eze koach Meruba. Which do we say here is the sin that's greater? Is it the seducer or the seduced? Koach hamadiach. Okay, that's the one. The power or the action of the seducer. Okay, o koach hanida or hanidach, or the situation of the one who is seduced. Question mark. Have Omer, okay, experience or existence tells us, right? Koach hamadiach, okay, the status of the one who did the seducing, right? Vitanya, and we learn this also from a Braita, says the Gemara. Medido, I'm sorry, medi, yeah, okay, mediche ir hanidachet b'skila. Okay, that those who are seduced from the ear of the subjected city get put to death by stoning. Skila, therefore, we argue, skila chamura mi chenek. That skila then is more severe than strangulation. Shekenitan lemigadef oved avodat kochavim. Because again, skila is given to the one who blasphemes or worships idols. Okay, so there's a parallel there between the fact that they worshipped something else and this other example. Umay chumra, and what's its stringency? Kida amran, as we've said. Challenge. Adraba, maybe it's the opposite. Chenek chamor. Okay, why might we think that chenek is chamor? Okay, if I'm correct, it's maybe because outside of an nidachet, who are punished by skila, those participants, an individual would be punished by, right, chenek. Okay, so what happens? Chenek chamor, maybe that is suffocation, is strangulation. Okay, shekain nitam lemakeh, but they give a different example. Shekain nitam lemakeh aviva imo, that it is given, it's the penalty given to one who strikes his father and his mother. Okay, umay, and what is its severity? Shekain hukash kadan lekvod hamakom, because there is an association made. Okay, and Art Scroll note number 10 is worth making a note around. Okay, there, what? Because there's an association made between honor to one's parents and honor to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, yes, David. Correct. Right. All right. I understand what you're saying. That was the point that Michael made a little bit before you came in. Okay. It's not, the severity may not necessarily be based on the degree of suffering of the recipient of the punishment, as it may be on the severity of the offense. Okay. All right. That's what I. No.
The whole reason for the list is if you commit 2 capital crimes, since Besdin can't kill you twice, they picked the war chomer that count. So that's the only significance. It has nothing to do with the feelings of the
condemned.
Of the condemned, or the attitude of the Adim who have to do it to him. It's simply if you're guilty of a crime that's chenek and you're guilty of a crime that's stila, they only give you stila because they can't kill you.
Right.
That's
Okay.
the whole point.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now I want to just quickly point out, if we look back at the beginning of the Amud, we saw there that the Gemara told us, right?
Agreed.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with suffering. What's the difference how they die?
That's a total different question. Good question, but I can't take the time right now. Afterwards. Fair enough.
The severity of the crime is the criteria
Okay.
for it.
Okay. So right. So we go back to the fact that the Gemara already told us at the very top of the Amud, okay, that in terms of a completely, or I don't know, use completely, okay, a married daughter of the Kohen is different than a betrothed daughter of the Kohen. Okay, now we come back to that statement, that issue, as we continue with the next piece of Gemara. Okay, Mida Afke Rachmana, since the Torah exempted La Arusa Bat Yisrael, okay, to a betrothed Israelite daughter, Miklal K Nisu'a Bat Yisrael, from the general category of a married Israelite daughter. Okay. Erwin, Bob, I may ask you to switch to Zoom, okay? Because I'm having problems here. Let's see if I keep it. All right, so in other words, they took her out of that category of the same. Okay, all right. Miklal Nisua by Israel Mechanik Leskila. Why? Because the Torah removed her, this betrothed daughter, right, from the general principle of married women, married Israel women, from the punishment for sexual mispropriety, okay, from a punishment of a strangulation to stoning, right? Shmamina, right? What happens?
She's still in her father's house.
She's well, that's part of it. Okay.
Lives in
right. Okay. She's still under the domain. She's under the responsibility of her father. Okay. So that would be one rationale why it did that. Why the rabbis were separating a betrothed, okay, from a completely married, right? Now, we'll keep that in mind. Shma mina skila chamura. This then teaches us again that skila is the most severe, right? Right? Okay, so what happens? I'll challenge it again, says the Gemara. Sreifa chamura misayef. And how then do we know? Okay, so if we've accepted the fact for the moment that the Gemara has positively argued that according to Rabbanan, okay, skila is number one. Okay, then they go to number two. Now we're going to deal with the question of sreifa. They said that was next down, right? So what happens? Sreifa chamura misayif. Okay, that burning, okay, is more, or pouring molten lead, however we define it, is more severe than beheading. Okay, shekenit nalabat kohen shazinta. Okay, because it is the punishment. We'll get to that. Heshi, we'll get to that. That's going to be a separate issue. Okay, good question, Baruch Shekivanta. But in this case, in other words, because I could argue, if they've already separated a betrothed from a fully married, can't I even separate even more a single woman? You see what I mean? So that's why. Okay, so what happens? Shekain nitna lebatna kohen shezinta. My chumra, what's its significance? What's its severity? Shekain mechalelet et aviha. Okay, again, we see the same argument. Okay, that she does her behavior, brings disdain, however we want to translate it. Okay, to the father, the family, etc., etc. Now, remember particularly, why are we bringing this up as the argument? Okay, regarding Bat Kohen. Okay, if the family has a bad name, okay, what is it going to impact in terms of him directly? Exactly, no one is going to give him truma. Okay, that's one example. Okay, so on and so forth. How many other examples we can come up to, but that's the very first example that should come to our minds. Okay, all right, let's go on. Okay, Adrabah says the opposite. Sayef chemor, maybe beheading is more stringent. Shekeni tanlan she'ir hanidachat, because that is given to the people of the city. Umay chumra, and what is that stringency? Shekain mamonan abad, because again, in addition, their property is destroyed. So there are two cases there, and they get the more stringent. Okay? All right, what happens then? Ne'amar aviha b'skila. Okay, so let us say then, says the Gemara, that okay, so shall we say here then that according that the way the Gemara is going to now determine this issue is not simply through a kal v'chomer, but we're going to use a gezerah shava in this case, okay, and clarify it this way: Ne'amar aviha b'skila. We use the phrase and find the phrase her father in regards to the punishment of skila. V'ne'amar aviha b'sreifa. But we also find the use of the phrase her father in regards to streifa. Okay. Ma aviha ha'amor b'skila, skila chamura misayef. The same way that where we have the word aviha in that pasuk, it implies that skila is more severe than beheading. Okay, af aviha. So likewise, through my gezerah shava, I will learn the same application to that word in the other situation, namely, siki af aviha ha'amur b'sreifa. So I could argue that same way the father, her father, is used in a pasuk that indicates sreifa, sreifa chamura misayef, and therefore I'm proving that sreifa needs to be number 2 in the order, okay, ahead of beheading. Okay, so the Gemara says sreifa chamura michenek. I'll also argue, since I'm presenting supporting evidence to show sreifa needs to be, according to the Tanakama, the Rabbanan, the second most severe, I'll show you that not only is it going to be considered more severe than one, it's going to be more severe than even another one. Okay, namely, sreifa chamura michenek. It's even more stringent than strangulation. Shekain nitna lebat kohen shezinta. Okay, because it is given assigned to a daughter of a kohen that is sexually inappropriate. Umay chumra, and what is its stringency? Kida amran, as we've said. Again, remember, mechalelet et aviha. Okay, all right. Gemara challenges. Adraba, says the Gemara. Maybe I'm going to argue that strangulation is more severe. Why? Because it is assigned to somebody who strikes the father and the mother. Umay chumra, and what is its stringency? Shekain hukash kvodan lechavod hamakom, because we make the association, excuse me, between the honor of the parents and the honor of the Kadosh Baruch. Benny, excuse me, can you just get me a cup of water, plain water, please? Okay. Okay. Mida afke rachmana lenisuin bat kohen. Since it's such, okay, that that the Torah already excludes the situation of a married, fully married kohen, daughter of a kohen, miklal nisuat bat Yisrael, from the general category. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Call me Ben Miller. Okay, from the general category, okay, of okay, Miklal Nisuat Bat Yisrael, from the category of married Israelite daughters. Okay, Mechanik L'Sreifa, excluding it from strangulation to burning. Shmamina, from this we learn Sreifa Chamura. That Sreifa is more stringent. Okay, so now we have another issue.
Now we have sure number.
Okay, so we've now clarified number one, according to the view of the rabbis. Skila first place, then Sreifa is in second. Okay, all right, so we've got the last two in their order, right? Which they said was then Hereg and Chenek. Okay, all right, we're going.
This from the beginning that we say Yochid Rabim, Rabim. So that would have been known from the Mishnah easily.
Good question.
No, but what we're trying to do now is work out what the order of the
Logic of
list
each
is.
Okay. All right, but remember, we don't come in the Mishnah to a halacha. It does, okay. What we did is initially we presented the issue of, is this really a sequence? Once we put the way what I'll call the editorial structure of the mission of the statement, now we're getting to the content and trying to prove why did they give this order and why did he give that order. Eventually, your question is well taken. At some point, it has to be a halal, right? Okay. So what happens? Saif chamor mechenek. Okay. Now we're going to get to number three. Do we say, okay, whose place is number three? Do we say that beheading is more stringent than strangulation? Shekeni tam la'anshe ir nidachet. Why? Because it's given to the people of the subjected city. Umay chumra, and what is its severity? Shekain mamonam avad, as we've argued that their property is destroyed, right? So Mara challenges. Ad Rabbah, just the opposite. Chenek chamur. Okay, maybe we're going to argue that strangulation is more severe. Shekeni tam lamake aviva imo. Okay, because it's given to the person who strikes his father and his mother. Okay, so what happens here? Umay chumra, and what is its stringency? Shekain hukash chule. Notice the Gemara doesn't even finish the statement because we've just been repeating it. Okay, because there's the association between kavod, okay, of the parents and kavod hamakom. All right. Afilu hachi, says the Gemara, poshit yado beikar adif. Okay, but nevertheless, the Gemara reinforces for us the fact that when one attacks what I'll call the fundamental aspects of faith, okay, and this is the example of ir nidachat, and therefore that's why they get, okay, a different punishment. Okay, Rebbe, now we've gone through, so we've now justified, if I can use that term, the order that Rabbanan gave us. Okay, skila sreifa hereg v'chen. Okay, thank you, Rebbe. All right, now we still have to deal with Rabbi Shimon. Why does he argue a different order? Okay, and what do you think the Gemara is going to do? Exactly, same approach. Okay, so we continue moving along. Rabbi Shimon he says, v'chulei, srifa chamura miskila, that the burning is more stringent than stoning. Shekein nitna lebat kohen shezinta, because it is given to the daughter of a kohen that what do you call it? Okay, sexually, all right. Umay chumra, and what is its severity? Shakein mechalelet et aviha. Okay, that she brings disdain on her father. Right now, we're going to see in a moment. Remember, I pointed out earlier at the outset of the Amud, and the Gemara came back to that the rabbis made a distinction between an arusa, okay, and a nisua of a bat kohen. Right? Right? Now, our question in the back of our minds is, of course, does Rabbi Shimon make the same distinction, or doesn't he make that same distinction? Okay, let's move on. Adraba, says the Gemara. Skila chamura. That skila is more stringent. Shekenit nalamigadefulo vedavudat kochavim, because it is determined for the blasphemer and the idol worshiper. Umay chumra, and what's its severity? Shekain pishet yado beikar, because he attacked the fundamentals of faith. Now, Rabbi Shimon l'ta'ameh, but Rabbi Shimon argues according to his view. The Amar, who says, Echat arusa ve'echat nisu'ah. Okay, this. Okay, so he right, Yatzah l'sreifa. So Rabbi Shimon does not make the difference between an arusa and a nisu'ah in this case, as the Gemara points out. Both of them would get the most severe penalty in his shita, his view, namely sreifa. Okay. Umida afked Rahmana la arusa bat kohen, and since we say that the Torah removed the betrothed daughter of a kohen, miklal arusa bat Yisrael, from the category, okay, the general category of but of right. So what happens? Bat Yisrael miskila l'sreifa. Okay, we said that was the case. Okay, Shma Mina, we learn from this again. Sreifa chamura. Okay, that sreifa is more stringent. All right, sreifa chamura mechanik. That sreifa is going to be more stringent than strangulation. Shekenit na lebat kohen shazinta, because that's what's given to the daughter of a kohen that sexually appropriate. Umay chumra, and what is its stringency? Da amran, as we've said. Adraba, says the Gemara, moving on. Said, chenek, let's take strangulation. Chamor, it should be more stringent. Shekeni tanamake aviva imo, because it's given to the one who strikes the father and his mother. Umay chumra, and what's its chumra? Shekenu kash v'kvodam l'chvod hamakom. Because again, we say the association between honor parents and honor the Kadosh Baruch. Okay, mida afke rachmana. Okay, since however the Torah has what lenisu'ah bat kohen miklal nisu'ah bat Yisrael, excluded the punishment of the daughter of a kohen. Okay, from a married daughter of the kohen, from a married Israelite daughter, mechenek l'sfa, from strangulation to burning, shma mina sreifa chamura, and therefore he would argue that sreifa is more stringent, sreifa chamura misayef, and that therefore burning is more stringent than beheading. Shekein nitna lebat kohen shazinta. Why? Because it's given to the daughter of the kohen that right. Okay. Umay chumra, and what is its stringency? Kida amran, as we've said. Adraba, says the Gemara, again, challenging, saif chamor. Beheading is more stringent. Shekeni tam la anshe dacha, because it's given to the people of the city that's been right seduced, so to speak. Umay chumra, and what is its stringency? Shekain mamonam avad, because their property is destroyed. What happens? Amart, now you've said, v'chi eze koach merubeh, and we ask the same question we had before. Which is the more severe of that should be punished? Koach hamadiach or koach hanidach? Is it the power of the seducer or the power of the stratus of the seduced? And I'm trying to go as fast as I can. Have omer koach hamidiach. Again, we would say it is that act, that power of the seducer, the kal v'chomer. And we do learn this from the following kal v'chomer. Uma chenek shechamor misayef. The same way Rabbi Shimon is going to argue. Sorry. The same way that strangulation is more severe than beheading. Sreifa chamura mimenu. Their burning is more severe than both of them. Saif hakel lo kol shekain. All right, and then beheading. Okay, all the more so should it be sreifa, be more severe. Okay, So Gemara picks up. Skila chamura michenek. I've argued that stoning is more severe than strangulation. Shekenit na lemegade fulo oved avodat kochavim, because it is the punishment given to the blasphemer and the idol worshiper. Umay chumra, and what is its stringency? Kida amran, as we have said. Challenge. Adraba, maybe the opposite. Chenek chamor. Maybe I'll say that strangulation is more severe. Shekeni tan lemake aviv v'imo, because that's given to the person who strikes father and his mother. Umay chumra, and what is its severity? Shekain hukash chule. Notice again, the Gemara doesn't give us even the whole rest of this thing. We should know it already from 3 or 4 times that it's given us that example. All right? But, says the Gemara, mida afke rachmana la arusa, since it's such that the Torah has exempted the betrothed bat Yisrael, the betrothed daughter of an Israelite, miklal nisua bat Yisrael, from the general category of married Jewish women, mechenek liskila, from strangulation to stoning. Shmamina, we learn from this, skila chamura, that stoning is more severe. Let's go on. Skila chamura misayef. Again, we argue that stoning is more severe than beheading. Why? Shekenit na lemigadeh v'chulei. Again, notice the Gemara doesn't give us the whole thing. Again, partly. All right, we should know it already. Ad rabba, perhaps the opposite is true. Sayef chamur. Maybe I'm going to argue that beheading is more stringent. Shekeni talan she'ir nidachet, because it's given to the city people from that city. Okay, umay chumra. What is its stringency? Shekain mamonam avad, that their property is destroyed. Gemara picks up. Amart. Now you've said v'chi eze koach meruba. Again, which severity, power, or gravity is more severe? Okay, koach hamadiach or koach hanidach, the power of the seducer or the power of the seduced. Havi omer koach hamadiach. Clearly, it's the power, the act of the seducer. The kal v'chomer, and we learn again another kal v'chomer, namely umah chenek shechamor misayv. Since we're saying that strangulation is more stringent than beheading, skila chamor mimenu, that skila is more severe than that. Mimenu sayif hakal lo kol shekain. And if that's the case, then beheading, okay, all the more so is it going to be more severe than beheading. Okay, now what happens? Chenek chamor misayif. Now we're going to argue again. Chenek, strangulation, is more severe than beheading. Shekain nitan lemake aviv v'imo. Indeed, it is given to the punishment for the one who strikes his father and his mother. Umay chumra, and what is its stringency? Kida amran, as we've already said. Here comes the challenge again. Adraba, perhaps it's the opposite. Sayef chamor, that the beheading should be considered more stringent. Shekeni tan la anshe ir nidachet, because it is given to the people of the seduced, or non-wishing city. Umay chumra, and what is its stringency? Shekain mamonam avad, that their property is removed, okay, destroyed. Amart, now that we are saying this, here's our same argument. Okay, what is in the stronger, the more gravity of the punishment? Right? Koach hamadiach or koach hanidach, is it the behavior, the power of the seducer, or the power of the seduced? Havi omer, again, experience tells us, koach hamidach. It is the activity, the power, the behavior of the seducer. Okay, now.
Whether for good or for bad.
Yeah. You're right. But remember, we're still not ready to give a sak. We're still not ready to give halacha ke. All right, that's what you're waiting for. Okay, so but the Gemara wants to take the time to deal with this sequence. Why did they come up with one sequence? Why did Rabbi Shimon come up with a different sequence? Okay. All right. So what happens here? Okay, namely the Gemara picks up. Okay, why we did that? Have Omer Koach Hamideyach. We pick up Vitanya, and we have a Brighter now. Okay, it says as follows: Mediche ir hanidachet b'schila clearly spells out. Okay, that those who are the cause, okay, who of the city to become undermined in worship are to be punished by skila. However, what happens is the Gemara says, Rabbi Shimon Omer Bechenek. He disagrees in this case and said they should be punished by strangulation. Why is that? Okay, his answer is going to be Miragla Befume de Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, because he was acknowledging that Rabbi Yochanan was accustomed to saying the following. By the way, Rabbi Yochanan implies, by saying it this way, it means that Rabbi Yochanan was not basing it on a pasuk, not basing on a svara that had been passed down as a Masorah, okay, but rather something that he had learned from his teachers. But the question of the source is not no, okay. Namely, na'ara ha'me'urasa. If we have a young woman who is betrothed, bat kohen, and she's the daughter of a kohen, shezinta, and she was sexually inappropriate behavior, biskila, she is to be punished by stoning. Okay, Rabbi Shimon Omer, bisrefa, and Rabbi Shimon says bisrefa. Now notice, just for a moment, real quick, that even though they disagree in the kind of punishment, they both agree that it is the most, in each of their systems, each of their shitas, it's the most severe penalty. Okay? So I want us to keep that in mind, right? Even okay? That's what's significant here.
Why doesn't it mention the punishment for her father?
Why don't they? What did the father do?
I mean, if she's engaged with,
He gets a bad reputation.
that's what I said, a betrothed young woman who is the daughter of a non-priest and who was engaged in intercourse with her father.
Okay, we're going to get to that in a second. Okay, we're going to get to that in a second. All right? Now, what happens here? Okay? Shezinta biskila. Okay? What kind of sexual improprieties are we talking about here? Incest. Okay? That's exactly, okay? So I use the word incestual adultery. How many crimes would that be considered? Right, Steve? 2, right? 2 separate crimes, right? Okay, so what happens? Again, we come back to what Michael said, what I've said. Okay, what do we always argue? 2 separate crimes with different punishments. You can only kill her once. You do the more severe. Okay, so here's now. How do we get that in this piece of okay? I don't know. I'll be honest. Okay, both Art Scroll and Koren present that, but what's the basis for saying it was incestual adultery? I guess that's the Masorah.
He's only committed one,
Me too.
so the death is a different.
Okay, that would be a valid shot. Okay.
What happens if the past Cohen is seduced?
Oh, all the more. She's still. Michael's point is valid. She's still 2 crimes, and the father would have been 1.
Oh, she's raped against her will.
Well, that's different.
Yeah.
That's a whole different situation. Okay. All right. Let's. I'm trying to keep an eye on the clock. Okay, as well. Biskila. All right. Rabbi Shimon Omer Bisrefa. Now we go on. All right, and here we see again this issue. Okay, zinta me'aveha biskila. All right, so here's where the Gemara clarifies it for us that she did her promiscuous act with her father. That's how the Gemara then tells us, like afterwards, okay, how did we understand that situation? When that was incest. Okay, and make a note around number 10 on that page in Art School. Okay, Rabbi Shimon Omer B'Treifa, yeah, my Kamash Malan. Okay, what is it trying to teach us? Le Rabbanan, according to the rabbis, Nisu'ah Yatz'ah L'Sreifa Velo Arusa. Okay, so the Gemara now wants to spell out that distinction that we referred to earlier. Okay, that a totally married woman, okay, would be assigned for a sexual impropriety to Sreifa, but not a betrothed. The Rabbi Shimon, Echat Arusa, Echat Su'ah, Yatzal Sreifa. But for Rabbi Shimon, okay, the same penalty applies regardless if she is a betrothed or a fully married, she would get the penalty of burning. Tama mai, and what's the reasoning? Mishum, why? The Rabbanan, that according to the rabbis, skila chamura, that skila is the most severe penalty. The Rabbi Shimon, sreifa chamura, that Rabbi Shimon, sreifa is the most severe penalty. Nafka mina lamisha nitchayev shtei mitot. And we derive from this, okay, the following, that's the one who has been sentenced to 2 death penalties, beit din nidun b'chamura. There it's spelled out for us that you go by the more stringent penalty, right? My Rabbi Shimon. So what about the view of Rabbi Shimon, asks the Gemara? Detanya, as we learn elsewhere in a Braita, okay, Rabbi Shimon says as follows, okay, Shnei klalot ne'emru bevat kohen. There were 2 general principles or categories, okay, said regarding the daughter of a Kohen, okay, bebat Kohen, regarding the daughter of Kohen, velo bebat Yisrael, but not regarding a Israelite daughter, Ema, and I would say as follows, okay, namely, when it says Ema, I said the point that Gemara is saying, hold on a second, we have to amend that Braita and phrase it differently. Af bavat Kohen, especially even with a daughter of a Kohen. V'hotzi hakatuv nisu'ah, and the Torah text removed of a fully married woman, miklal nisu'ah va'arusa, from the category of both fully married and betrothed. Miklal arusa, category of betrothed. Okay, ma kashehotzi hakatuv nisu'ah, miklal nisu'ah lahachmir. Okay, namely that when removed from the category of betrothed, what did it do? The text removed also a nisu'ah, a fully married woman, from the category of married woman to make more stringent punishment. Likewise, that when the entire text removed a betrothed from the general category of betrothed, conflicting witnesses regarding a fully married Kohen daughter, okay, is different from the general category of conflicting witnesses. Okay, okay, from the general category of conflicting witnesses from a married Israelite woman. V'zomamei arusa, and the conflicting witnesses of a betrothed daughter of a Kohen, Bat Kohen, Bichlal zomame arusa. Okay. All right. So what happens? So there too, the conflicting witnesses of the betrothed Israelite die. Right? Now, Tanu Rabbanan. And we're going to get to actually a new piece. Says the Brighton, the following. Ubat ish kohen kiter chel. That's our pasuk. When the daughter of a kohen begins to sexually behave in an inappropriate manner, yachol afilu chalula et hashabbat. Maybe given the wording of the pasuk, I might argue when it says she begins to desecrate, okay, it could be something else, namely, right, where we use that term normally with Shabbat, exactly. Talmud Lomar, that's why the text tells us, okay, liznut, okay, to sexual impropriety, Chilulain shebeznut hakatuv medaber. Okay, in desecration and regarding to sexual behavior is what the pasuk is really talking about. Yachol afilu. Okay, Heshi, here's your question. Here's your point, right? Yachol afilu pnuya. Okay, what about a single woman? Okay, what about that category? Right, that was your question. Ne'emar kan aviha, v'ne'emar lahalan aviha. It says here, okay, about her father. It says there about her father. Malahalan znut im zikat baal, afkan znut im zikat baal. The same way such sexual impropriety has an impact on the association, the relationship with the husband, so likewise, again, sexual impropriety there too also would have an impact on the association with a husband. Oh, or perhaps Eino Omer Aviha, Ela lahotzi et kol ha'adam kishehu Omer. Okay, or perhaps we only raise this, note number 24, okay, in art school. Okay, perhaps we only raise this to exclude any man, okay, who would want to come and say, all right, in other words, a witness, he mechalalet, that she is profaning. Hare kol adam amor. And therefore it is said, isn't it saying that it refers to all men? In other words, there is no distinction, as Michael was alluding to, between zomamim for an arusa versus zomamim for a nisua, okay, and well, okay, what? Okay. Ha ma'ani mikayem aviha ne'amar kan aviha ne'amar lahalan aviha. And that's why I maintain, says the Gemara. It says here, I use that Gezerah Shava again. Here I say her father, and there I say her father. Okay? Ma lahalan znut im zikat habal, afkan znut im zikat habal. So the same way, znut is going to have an impact on the relationship attachment to the husband, so there too it would have an attachment. A malahalan na'ara hi arusa, afkan na'ara hi arusa. So here too, we say the same way that it would have impact on a young woman, okay, and she may be betrothed. Afkan here too, a young woman, okay, and she may be betrothed. Na'ara vehi nisua, a young woman and she's fully married, okay, bogeret, right?
She's older than 12.
Right, okay, bogeret vehi arusa, okay, or I'm going to call her a teenager for the moment, okay, and she is betrothed, bogeret vehi nisua, or we say that she is a bogeret, a teenage, and she is fully married, okay, afilu hazkina, and even if she's an older woman, right, minayin, Talmud Lomar, says the text, okay, ubat kohen mikol makom, the daughter of a kohen in any extenuating circumstance. That's whatever the situation. And we'll stop right there.
Go ahead.
Question is that is sexual activity